Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And I gotta say, I had a lot of fun with NXT tonight. They had two really well done, in my mind, in-ring matches tonight. I believe there were 4 matches. Some great backstage segments that promoted some feuds. All around, I feel like this episode of NXT accomplished quite a bit, and we had some fun along the way. Ashton, what did you think of it?
Yeah, man, this was a really fun show. I agree with you that there were 4 really well-worked matches, or, well, I guess you said 2, and I would definitely agree with that as well, but I don't think any of the matches were bad. It's just that one of them was a really quick squash, and the other one was just 2 big guys slamming into each other a bunch of times.
Exactly.
But yeah, I agree that the tag team match and the women's match were both solid, but I don't think that any match was perfect tonight.
And that's fair enough. And going into any gripes, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I'll tell you right now, I have no heats tonight. I have no nitpicks. I just really kind of enjoyed this hour of NXT. But Ashton, ever since TWitWoW, where I know you've said you had some grievances to air, I'm curious what exactly is on your mind.
Yes. I have 2 nitpicks.
2 nitpicks, okay.
And they're both with the matches that we both liked.
Okay.
So the first one, I'm going to just do the quick and easy one first. I'm not a fan of the Authors of Pain attacking American Alpha before the match.
I didn't really see a problem with that because I think they wanted to protect Alpha on the way out.
That's the problem I had, though, because by doing that, you make the Authors of Pain look less credible. This is a heel team that shouldn't need to cheat to win. These guys are behemoths. They are dominators. They are killers. They shouldn't need an unfair advantage in order to beat American Alpha.
Right.
I don't like that at all.
It is a conflict, I think, with NXT. I mean, I could certainly see where you're coming from. Yes, they are heels, and heels by their very nature, will cheat or bend the rules or manipulate the system any way possible because they know, in terms of in-ring, they're supposed to be inferior to the babyface. But then again, when you're the type of heel that the Authors of Pain are, like you said, these big behemoths, does that even really become necessary anymore when you could just kind of impose your will upon any situation imaginable?
Right.
And, I definitely think that's the conflict.
To me, the fact that they attacked American Alpha before the match pretty much invalidates them beating American Alpha, because can you beat American Alpha at 100%? Well, we don't know, because that question wasn't answered tonight.
Right. I can see where that gripe's coming from. I think, especially given how the beatdown tied into the actual match, I think I'm a bit more forgiving, but I definitely can see where you're coming from. Yeah. So, good stuff. What was your second nitpick, though?
Oh, boy. This is the one that I'm going to get called out for, probably. I don't like the way that Nia Jax lost tonight.
You know what? I knew you were going to have a problem with it when I watched it. And let me just guess why. Did it remind you too much of like a Super Cena moment? Where Bayley's down and then she suddenly pops up and then does this big move like Bayley to belly.
John, you would think so, but that's not even my biggest problem with it.
Okay, well that surprises even me. So what was your problem?
My problem was that I thought that we were past this whole Nia is inexperienced and that's why she loses to Bayley thing.
Oh, yeah,
She overcame that struggle when she beat Bayley the last time, and now she made pretty much the same type of mistake, a rookie mistake, which led to Bayley winning. Like, the story told in this match was the exact same story told at their London match, which I wouldn't be super pissed off about if it wasn't for the fact that we already had development in this story that made it less relevant to do again.
See, I disagree to a point. I don't know if this makes it any better. This is just my point of view. I don't think this was so much about, Nia Jax is inexperienced. I think that the story told here, especially the final few moments, is because Nia really prided herself after the last match she had with Bayley that I broke Bayley, I broke the heart and soul of NXT. And when she saw Bayley come back up and challenge her again, she saw a job half done. And I think Nia Jax was thinking, I'm going to destroy Bayley for good. So I think her blind ambition, not necessarily inexperience, like I'm going to destroy Bayley rather than beat Bayley. Because I noticed in the match she could have beat Bayley had she gone for the leg drop. Notice she stopped the leg drop and she's like, no, we're going to try this top rope stuff.
But that's my problem, because if you remember their first match at London, she hit multiple leg drops and Bayley kicked out of it.
Right.
So I guess my problem is that was excessive, and maybe if she would have gone for the cover after the first one, it would have won, but she felt the need to keep going, and it probably woke Bayley back up, right?
Right.
But here, she kind of makes the exact same mistake, trying to cause so much excessive damage that she makes a mistake.
I can understand that, I guess. I just think I was cool with it because I think the story they were trying to tell is, again, second match, Nia's really proud because she didn't even really, I think she did pin Bayley, to be fair, but more than that, she quote-unquote injured her, and like now she just really wanted to just snuff Bayley out for good, and she got so wrapped up in that idea, like I could end Bayley's career. That may even be a bigger prize to me than the NXT Women's Championship, that she made a mistake, which I think makes Nia, it makes her heel work come off better to me because she's really malicious. But I could see why, since you had a gripe with London, I know I had a gripe with London as well, that would translate into this match as well. So I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I am just not a fan of telling story A and then progressing it up to point B and then regressing back down to A.
Right. I can see what you're saying.
That's the problem I have, so.
All right. Well, with that said, you've aired your grievances. You have none others that you want to air out, right?
I mean, other than just the whole, Joe Rhyno thing being boring, but that's not really anything that I have to... That's not substantial enough for me to consider in this.
Right. So now let us get into our NXT review. And we open up with Joe Rhyno. And, I'm just going to echo your sentiments. Like, this match was fine. They did the typical stuff when you've got two powerhouses in the ring. Like, for example, they did the shoulder block spot. We're like, oh, try and shoulder block me. And, Rhyno tried 2 times. Joe's like, come on, is that all you got? Goes the 3rd time. Joe tries clotheslining him. Then Rhyno gets it off. Stuff like that.
Stuff that we would see from, like, Ishii and Goto.
Exactly, except far less entertaining in this case.
Right.
Because, towards the end, and I could even tell personally, maybe this is just me looking too much into things, but Rhyno seemed exasperated, like blown up towards the end of the match, and then Joe gets the Uranagi in the corner, and then he gets the Coquina clutch. Rhyno taps out. Joe looks dominant. He shut Rhyno up, and now we can move on to bigger and better things. Is there anything you want to add to this match? Because I really didn't feel like there was much really to discuss here.
No, I don't have anything to add here.
All right, then we can move on. Asuka's interview. I already said on TWitWoW I really like this because Andrea D'marco is her name. She asked Asuka, who would you prefer to challenge, Bayley or Nia? And she said, I'll fight Nia. I'll fight Bayley. I'll fight anyone. And then she smiles. Personally, I like this. Look, Asuka's
Actually,
English,
I think she said, I'll fight both.
I'll fight both. That is what she said. And I like this because it was succinct. It was straightforward. Her English isn't perfect. I can understand her. I don't mean that in an insulting way. It's just I'm not expecting these soliloquies from Asuka. Right. I think this should be her promo style until she feels more comfortable. And, I'm totally cool with that.
All right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this was solid, man. This was solid.
All right. Then moving on, we have got American Alpha and about to take on the Authors of Pain. They're making their entrance, and then the Authors of Pain just jump them. Chad Gable really got the worst of it. He got kneed in the midsection, and then his hair pulled down, his body hitting the steel ramp. And then we don't know, are they going to have this match? Are they not going to have this match? They do have this match. I loved American Alpha, specifically Chad Gable shoving the referees away and going after the Authors of Pain. I thought that showed a great babyface fire, especially when they cleared the ring of the Authors of Pain. I thought that was so cool. And then we get to the match. Now, I have a lot to say about the match, but I want to give you the floor first, Ashton. What did you think of this?
No, I thought it was really good. I thought, the idea that Gable, and this was my perfect, like, to me, this was my spot of the match by far.
Right.
Gable suplexing one of the Authors of Pain, and that leads to the first 2 count of the match.
Right.
That was amazing.
Yeah, there were so many good things done in this match. First and foremost, because I'm just going to read from my notes here. I love how they work over Gable's midsection, and then later in the match, you see Gable in a bear hug, like really working that area that they did in the assault pre-match. I thought that was really cool. Authors of Pain, just them working together and imposing their will is always a treat. American Alpha, I love, and I even put this in my notes. I think the great thing about American Alpha being the first real legitimate challenge for the Authors of Pain is if you're a diehard NXT fan, American Alpha has that credibility where the Authors of Pain are a huge deal. But yet, if you're more of a casual fan and say you don't even really know who American Alpha is, they bump and they sell so well that Authors of Pain still look like a huge deal, and they look like, if you were a casual viewer, that they're probably the really credible team in this scenario. So I think it works both ways, and that's why I love American Alpha as their opponents. Yep. Jordan and Gable's stuff was insane. I mean, Jordan's suplex still had me pop, even though we've seen it once before. He did just like an overhead suplex to the one, and then like a Saito suplex to the other, and that only got a 1 count.
Yeah, that was sick.
That was so good. And speaking of so sick, you mentioned Chad Gable's suplex. That was fucking awesome. Just the visual of a guy Gable's size throwing one of the Authors of Pain like that was amazing. The ankle lock and Jordan dive spot was great. The Authors of Pain spot where they caught Gable and they like collide his head, like they swing his head into the LED part of the apron.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, you were exclaiming quite a few times in this match, which I loved. It was like live reactions. It was great hearing you pop for both American Alpha and the Authors of Pain stuff. Yeah. This was easily match of the night for me. I love this, dude. This was so much fun.
By far it is, yeah.
And they did their double team finisher, the side Russian leg sweep lariat combo on Chad Gable for the win. Jason Jordan pretty much took himself out because he wanted to spear one of the Authors of Pain, but his own momentum took him into the steel steps, which is, again, I love how American Alpha has bumped and sold for these guys, especially now that they've had this match. Yeah, this was great. I think this definitely hit the sweet spot for me of just a match that just went long enough. I think Authors of Pain looked very impressive, and American Alpha is just always amazing. I fucking love these guys.
Yeah, this match, if nothing else, made me really excited for next Tuesday.
Oh, you and me both, brother. I mean, look, a post-draft SmackDown may be looking abysmal, but I'll always be ready, willing, and Gable. Yeah. So, anything else you want to say about this tag team match?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, the thing is, I feel like this was kind of Chad Gable and Jason Jordan's going away party. Like, this was their farewell to NXT.
Yeah,
but at the same time, aren't they also kind of first in line for a tag title shot, or?
Well, I mean, the Revival beat them 2 out of 3 falls, so you figure they go in the back of the line, and now losing to Authors of Pain. Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's going to end up being Gargano and Ciampa, isn't it?
I was just getting ready to ask you, do you think what we're really setting up here eventually is Gargano and Ciampa versus the Authors of Pain?
Well, that's actually happened next. Up next was the Cathy Kelley interview with the Revival.
Yeah, I love the Revival here. They said that they deserve a huge thank you letter from the Authors of Pain because they shattered the spirits of American Alpha. I love that Scott Dawson, I think he compared himself to Kobe Bryant and one other player because they were down 1 fall, but they made it back up too. And they were just saying they're the best tag team in NXT history and the only 2-time NXT tag team champions, and nobody can beat them for these belts, and nobody, has beat them. And they're about to do their Clink Me Jack, where they clink those titles. And Gargano and Ciampa interrupt, and Gargano is pretty much, it was Ciampa, I think, that said, nobody's beating you. And in fact, I know we've beaten you. In fact, the only thing we haven't done is win those NXT tag team titles. And Gargano imitates a clock. He goes, tick-tock, 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 boys. And they leave. The Revival brush it off, and they clink belts. But I'm really excited for this rematch between these two teams. It's going to be excellent.
Yeah, man. Oh, God, I love the Revival. Like, I obviously I'm a massive fan of American Alpha, and they're amazing, but I have to say I'm so glad the Revival's staying in NXT right now because I feel like they'd get lost in the shuffle on the main roster, and they're perfect where they are in NXT.
I agree. I think the problem with the Revival, and I don't mean to knock
it's because
them.
They're small.
They're small, and
They're
I think
basically both Chad Gable size. Like, these guys, like, there is no hot tag with them.
right. And I don't know if, like, because they look pretty, I don't want to say generic, but I can't really think of a better word. Now, they work amazing in ring.
Yeah.
But I think with American Alpha, like, they have the vibrancy with the colorful singlets and all that stuff, and they have an atmosphere built around them. I don't know if the Revival have that, and that's why I do feel like American Alpha is going to translate very well on the main roster. The Revival, I think NXT's kind of their sweet spot. That's why they're two-time NXT Tag Team Champions, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So let them enjoy their run there. And we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Because I'm rooting for them, obviously, but I don't really know how it would work out. But, that said, let's move on. We get a video package, Hideo Itami's return in 2 weeks. It's about damn time. I'm looking forward to this. What about you, brother?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, we were both kind of hoping for him to return by the end of 2016 or 2015, and now we're more than halfway through 2016 and he's still not back yet. This is a long time coming, brother.
Oh, you know it, man. You fucking know it.
And he's coming back for Joe.
Yes. Yes. Oh, man.
Really, because it seems like they're doing Nakamura Joe at Back to Brooklyn. I really hope Joe retains, even if it's just like feet on the ropes, pinfall, or like Bo Dallas style, like clank him up against the exposed turnbuckle or whatever it takes to keep Nakamura credible and have Joe win. Just keep the title on Joe. Let Nakamura get called up while Joe chills on NXT for a little while longer. Let Hideo beat Joe in December in Japan.
Yeah, really.
Please.
Because to me, I agree with everything you're saying, because to me, as much as I would love, because I know some people have said this, at least that I've seen, they're kind of hoping that the Nakamura title shot would be on an episode of NXT, and Hideo gets the Brooklyn spot.
I know, dude, I would much prefer that.
Honestly, I wouldn't, and I say that because, one, I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head. What better place for Hideo to do it than his home country? And two, and I'm just being honest from my point of view, Hideo has missed a lot of in-ring time. A lot more than I think anybody anticipated initially when he got injured. If anybody, because they've always done it with Sami Zayn, now they're doing it with Bayley, if anybody really needed, in my mind, a claw your way back up, redeem yourself kind of storyline, it's Hideo, and I would like to see it last, hopefully to December. I don't know. Maybe he gets to a certain point and Joe beats him, but maybe December's a rematch, and then he wins that. I think it should wait. If we've waited long enough for Hideo to return, I'm willing to wait for him to get a rightful and proper championship win. I do agree with you Nakamura should lose, because his value's on the main roster, but I really want a proper story told with Hideo, and I think December would be a perfect culmination. So that's where I am with it.
I guess. I know. I'm just so sick of NXT doing all this freaking ROH slow build shit. I just want them to actually pull the trigger on someone for once, you know?
Oh, dude, I totally get what you're saying. It's just like, and I would agree with you had Hideo not been out so long. Like, if he had come back even like a few months earlier, I might have even been down with it, but he's been gone so long. And like, I just really want him to get reacclimated and for him to have a proper story. Because
I know, but like, my thing is, dude, I can understand that if it wasn't, like, here's the thing. Think of it this way. Sami Zayn, when he first got back, didn't take more than a month to get back in the world title picture.
That is true.
Hideo Itami was already in the world title picture. He was primed. He was literally in a number one contenders match on the night that he got hurt.
Which is why I feel like it'd be more emotionally resonant, though, to do the build the way I'm suggesting, because you're right there, only to get knocked back down again right back at the beginning.
I know. I'm sorry, dude. This is our biggest difference internally is just you're the fan of the slow build. I'm a fan of lightning in a bottle, and I feel like NXT has been doing too much slow build lately and not enough lightning in a bottle. And even if you don't want to necessarily concede that my idea of having Hideo show up, beat the hell out of everybody, and call Joe out for being the one that attacked him at NXT TakeOver Unstoppable within the first month of being back, at the very least, I think you can agree with me that NXT needs to do something big similar to that to really get some kind of a spark going, because they've just been so stagnant lately.
I could concede that ground to you, if nothing else. I mean, I'll maintain my position about Hideo. I won't concede on that, but I will concede on your more general point. I do think you've got something there.
I just feel like it's one of those things where I love Samoa Joe as champion, but now you're going to put Nakamura against him when Nakamura belongs on the main roster. I feel like NXT really is starting to slowly morph into a Ring of Honor, because at this point they're relying on name value to get people to watch rather than actually telling stories that make people invested in what's going on in the ring.
Right.
They're just like, oh, this guy's facing that guy. That's a dream match. How excited are you? Rather than this guy's facing that guy because that guy cost this guy something massive over a year ago and he wants his freaking revenge.
Right.
That's what I want.
And we'll see. I mean,
I want NXT to start trending more towards Lucha Underground and less towards Ring of Honor.
And I could totally understand that. And it'll be interesting.
In Lucha Underground, that's the thing. They start and blow off stories over the course of a month. Like, look at Brian Cage versus Chavo Guerrero and Cage's pursuit of the world title. Cage wins Gift of the Gods medallion. Chavo steals it. Chavo wins the Gift of the Gods title. Cage beats him the following week and immediately cashes in, and then Cage faces Matanza for the title the following week. That all happened over the course of like 5 or 6 weeks.
Right.
Like, that's one massive story arc. And Cage, that's the thing. Cage could have beaten Matanza, and I think we would have bought it because of the Gift of the Gods.
Right. Yeah.
So if Hideo comes back in 2 weeks, on his first night, he squashes some random, maybe, let's just say, since they're bringing up the toughen up people, let's say he squashes Mata, or he squashes Bronson Matthews or someone like that in a minute and a half, you know?
Right.
He gets on the mic and immediately calls out Joe and says, Samoa Joe, I know it was you that attacked me last year. Get the hell out here. I'm going to kick your ass.
Right.
And Joe doesn't show up. He gets something show up on the Titantron that says, oh, Hideo, what you need to realize is it doesn't matter what you want because I'm the champion now and I call the shots. And if I'm going to fight you, it's not going to be on your time. It's going to be on my time. You know, like, you can drag it out for 3 weeks and it can be an amazing story.
I could see where you're coming from. What I'm going to be,
but no, it's NXT now, and NXT is becoming ROH 2.0 with better production value, and so now they're going to drag it out until the end of the frickin' year.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see which one of our, because it's clear to me in regards to this story, and really, like you said, it's just inherent in the two of us. We have two very different kind of booking philosophies. It'll be very interesting to see which one wins out and how it all goes. Because yeah, I mean, Hideo,
well, no, I'm confident you're going to win out. I'm confident that it's going to be the slow build because that's just how NXT has kind of been, and that's what they've become.
Right. Then again, I mean, you know, I think I would hope that NXT would recognize how big Brooklyn is. Maybe they will say, look, Hideo Itami versus Samoa Joe, because of the story, is the bigger matchup than Joe Nakamura.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say, I think the Joe Nakamura is going to happen, and I'm not even writing off Nakamura winning.
Right.
I think there's still a chance that they might just say, screw it, let's give Nakamura the title. We don't want to, you know, we want him to be undefeated for a while. We don't want to have him take a loss to Joe. You know, let's just keep him strong. He can have a few months, and they might even decide to do Nakamura Hideo, which in my opinion, while the match is obviously, you know, just like with a Ring of Honor, oh, it's a dream match and you're going to watch it anyway because of how big of a deal these two names are. To me, the more compelling story is Joe versus Hideo.
Yeah, and that I will agree with you on. Yeah, I mean, the story's right there. It's just a question of how you choose to cultivate it. But with that said, is there anything else you want to say about, you know, Hideo's return and the implications thereof?
Nope.
All right, then let's move on. Next matchup, Patrick Clark versus Austin Aries. You know, this is pretty much a squash match. Aries getting the quick win after a nice combo that saw him slamming Patrick Clark's knee onto the canvas and then goes right into the last chancery. I like that combo. One of the few things I do like about
that was
Austin Aries.
Sick, dude. Like, that shin breaker over his knee and then immediately flips it up into, like, almost like a flipping suplex facebuster. Like, that was crazy, man. That was amazing.
Yep, right into the submission.
I think it was originally just meant to be like a back suplex, but Patrick oversold the hell out of it and did a full flip and landed on his face.
Right.
But then at the same time, maybe it was intentional to do it that way because then Austin Aries so quickly immediately transitioned into the last chancery. So
Right.
I don't know,
right.
man, but it was pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, and then, so Aries gets the quick win there. He's, kind of reveling in his self-professed greatness. When No Way Jose comes out, he starts beating down Aries. Loved his body language, loved his fire here. And I want to tack on to this personal segment. I watched No Way Jose's WWE.com exclusive, because I always like to go through the exclusive even before we watch the shows. And I liked what he had to say. He said, Austin Aries, he's just ticked off because he's amassed all these championships and he has all this worldly experience. And yet I, a guy with an afro plucked from obscurity, am loved by the people. And then No Way Jose said Austin Aries can be positive, that there's no way I'll ever let that happen again, meaning Austin Aries' beatdown on him. I really liked it, dude. You've been saying for a while that you see a lot in No Way Jose, and I think segments like this and his WWE.com exclusive promo really illustrate why that is. Because, yeah, there is a huge upside to this guy.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to Aries versus No Way Jose at Brooklyn, if that's what happens?
Let me put it this way. What has me excited is the prospect of No Way Jose winning.
Which, honestly, I don't think is going to happen. Right now,
Which is exactly why I didn't come right out and say, yeah, I'm excited, John, because that's probably not happening.
It would, you know what? I would like a three-match...
Before you say that, just let me say this. How freaking dumb is it? How opposite to the WWE's booking philosophy that NXT's is? Because with WWE, if there's an NXT guy, or not even an NXT guy, I shouldn't say that. If there is an outsider, whether it's, Brock for UFC or, AJ for TNA or whatever, someone that hasn't been brought up through the WWE system, for the longest time, those guys would lose their first few matches to kind of quote unquote pay their dues.
Right.
But NXT signs indie guys and immediately sends them on winning streaks. And then they do it at the expense of homegrown talent.
Right.
They did it with Baron Corbin. They did it with Breeze. They're doing it with No Way Jose, probably.
Right.
I don't get it, man. Like, to me, Baron Corbin should have been a world champion. No Way Jose right now, I mean, the fire he showed tonight, I'm not backing off what I said a long time ago. He's got potential to be the next Rock.
Yeah. Definitely.
And now it's going to be... Well, he's going to job to Aries at the next pay-per-view, and then he's going to frickin' probably job to Zack Sabre Jr. or something like that, or something. I love all these talents. I'm not a big fan of Austin Aries, but, I love the indie talents and stuff, but at a certain point, you've got to really start to put over homegrown talent. They're becoming, and I've even said this before, they're almost becoming TNA, and that they're just signing everyone from everywhere else and immediately pushing those guys to the top, rather than putting the rocket under their own guys and homegrown talent.
Right.
That's always been a problem with TNA, too. And that's actually one of the biggest reasons that I don't watch TNA, other than the fact that it's just flat out not entertaining.
Right. For me, because I'm seeing the worst of this situation, kind of like you are. I'm seeing Aries going over in Brooklyn. So to kind of diminish the impact, I mean, obviously the smart choice to me would be to have No Way Jose win. Brooklyn's going to be a huge crowd. You do have the story there. See, it's funny because we just got done having this debate with Hideo. There is a story that they're building on here. No Way Jose tried to be a good guy, tried to get Austin Aries to see the positive in things. Austin Aries said, well, screw yourself, and he beat the crap out of No Way Jose. Now No Way Jose, realizing, where the hell he is, he's like, okay, you want to play that game? We'll play that game. He's gotten serious. I like what they're doing. I would have No Way Jose win in Brooklyn. To me, that's a no-brainer. But again, this is NXT. So what I'm hoping, if they do let Aries go over, I would like a three-match program with these guys. No Way Jose
with No Way Jose at the top, yeah.
Yes. I want him to come out on the winning end of this feud. I think he should come out on the winning end of this feud because Austin Aries is in his mid to late 30s, and No Way Jose, again, is this homegrown talent. He's got the youth on his side. The crowd loves him. Build him up. So That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, personally, I'm hoping I'm wrong about Aries going over in Brooklyn, because that'll actually be one match on the card that I'll tell you will be one of my more anticipated matches.
Yeah, there's a 10-year difference between these guys.
Right.
Aries is 38, Jose is 28.
Right. See? I mean, that, to me, that tells you everything you need to know, personally.
And actually, there was a change made on Tuesday. They were actually originally going to draft Austin Aries.
Right.
I don't know what happened. I don't know why the change happened, but literally an hour before SmackDown started, Vince decided to not bring Austin Aries up.
Right.
I don't know. I kind of wish they would have, just because then he wouldn't have been on NXT anymore.
Right. I mean, and it depends. I mean, maybe I'll look back after Brooklyn and I'll say, I'm glad they didn't draft Austin Aries because it was a good service to No Way Jose. But if Aries wins, I'm just going to be like, well, that was pointless.
Yeah.
All right, with that said, let's move on. Main event time, Bayley versus Nia Jax. And I got to say here, I even said on TWitWoW, I'm going to reiterate here to start, I thought this was their best match of the 3 matches they've had.
Yeah.
And I personally, and now I want to be very careful what I say here because I want to be absolutely clear. I still don't agree with Nia Jax being drafted as she was. I still think it's way too soon. That said, I commend her for her heel work here. I like that she was talking trash to Bayley, even if it was something as basic as calling her a loser, and forcefully tossing her out of the ring multiple times to kind of symbolize, oh, Bayley's trash in my ring. I appreciate those little touches. Other than that, they resorted to the same story they have for the prior 2 matches. Bayley's the scrapper, Nia Jax is the obstacle, and it pretty much writes itself. But I mean, Ashton, you said in the opening segment you weren't crazy about, like, this just seemed to be regressing. You go from point A to point B, but instead of going to point C, you go back to A. Is there anything else you want to say about this match?
No, I mean, that's the thing is, I didn't think that the match was bad. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was solid. I didn't have any complaints about the way that the match was worked. My problem was the way that it ended was too similar to their London match in Nia going for that excessive offense, Bayley catches her in a mistake and wins.
Right.
And I wouldn't have even had a problem with that if we didn't have sort of the revelation, okay, Nia learned from her mistakes and she's past that now in the most recent match between these two where Nia beat Bayley.
Right.
That's the problem that I had.
And I feel like, to your credit, that problem gets kind of exacerbated a little bit because you even had commentary, specifically Corey Graves, go out of his way to say, well, can Bayley beat this Nia Jax because she's evolving all the time? He said that tonight.
Yep.
So, whether we agree with you or disagree with you, it's no doubt that, like, at least you've got the credence going for you of, well, even commentary has said Nia Jax evolved, and yet she loses by making a folly that she's already committed in their first bout at London. So it is a bit backwards, which is a shame because, again, I really do mean it when I say I enjoyed the work these 2 women put in. I like, too, as a side note, that Nia Jax used the jackhammer. If she would want to use that as a secondary finisher and maybe just plain out call it the Jax hammer, I'd approve. It looked pretty sick.
You know what? That was another thing I wanted to say. I saw a lot of people praising her for that. It looked sloppy to me.
It looked sloppy to you? I liked it, personally.
The reason that I say that, like, if you ever go back and watch Goldberg's jackhammers, and that's the thing, Goldberg was not by any means a technician in the ring at all.
Right.
He was, one of the biggest problems with him was how green he was in the ring. But when he did a jackhammer, it almost looked like a brainbuster.
Right.
That he just kind of, like, did a crossbody on top of. But Nia kind of dropped it into basically like a world's strongest slam, which I thought looked a little bit too clunky for my taste.
That's fine. I would personally hope that maybe she could work on the execution of her moves so that maybe it would get more of a, universal appeal, because I would like if that was like a secondary finisher that she'd use in case her leg drop, or I think she's using the power bomb now. I don't even really know anymore. I can't keep them straight. Yeah. But it would be a good move in her repertoire if you could polish it just a bit to get more acclaim on it from the fans and whatnot. But yeah, Bayley does get the win. Is there anything else you want to say about this match?
I don't think so, no.
All right, then let's move on. High spots and low shots. Just going to come out right and say it. Nia Jax is my low shot. This was the 3rd match, and again, it had number 1 contender implications for the NXT Women's Championship, and she came out on the losing end pretty decisively, eating a Bayley to belly off the top rope. So, yeah, Nia Jax is my low shot.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think my low shot. I think my low shot's going to be Patrick Clark. Actually, no, you know what? We didn't have any expectations for him. My low shot's Rhyno. You come back and you immediately challenge the world champion only to lose in your first match.
He's a loser. So there you go.
That was way funny than it had credit being.
I know, right? I got you. So,
Yeah, you did.
yeah, I mean, I personally, what was that, bro?
Damn it, Rusev.
He's so good.
And he's on Raw.
Don't remind me. We don't need to revisit that territory. I'm just now healing. But yeah, I gotta be honest, bro. I caught a little hitch in my throat when you were like, "No, we're not doing Patrick Clark." I'm like, "Please don't say American Alpha." And I'm like,
No.
"Oh, I'm so glad."
See, the thing is, with American Alpha, even though it was the heat of the night, they were still protected.
Right.
I can't make them my low shot. Just because of how well protected they were. Like they intentionally, they went out of their way to be like, even though the Authors of Pain are badasses, they still need an unfair advantage to beat American Alpha because of how much of badasses those guys are.
I mean, those suplexes though.
No.
The only offensive
First one
maneuver
by Jordan was cool, but when Gable did it, oh my god.
Yes, dude. I mean, look, in the opening match, the only offensive maneuver that Rhyno executed really well was sucking wind. So, on that note, my high spot is the Authors of Pain. Because, I mean, American Alpha will always be my boys till the day I die, but Authors of Pain did get the win, and the way their trajectory's looking, they may have a meteoric rise to the NXT Tag Team titles. Yeah. So, Authors of Pain are my high spot.
Okay, yeah, I mean, hey, my high spot is actually going to be No Way Jose, because, he got a little beat down in on Austin Aries, maybe not quite as violent as Aries beat down on him, but he got really close to evening the odds tonight, and he showed a level of fire that we've never seen from him before. He really, he stepped it up tonight. I thought it was really good.
I agree with you, sir. I loved what No Way Jose did. I think I saw it before, so it's not like a King Cuerno thing where I'm finally coming around to your way of thinking. I just hope more people are seeing what you've seen in No Way Jose, because, I mean, this is a legitimate prospect right here, and I wish him nothing but the best. So, with that said, do you have any concluding remarks about NXT?
No, sir.
All right, then. With that said, guys, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Ashton, what question do you have for our subscribers this week?
The question that I have for the subscribers this week is, what would you prefer? Nakamura versus Joe on television and Hideo versus Joe on Brooklyn, or Nakamura versus Joe at Brooklyn and Hideo versus Joe at another takeover later this year?
That's such an attractive question. And I want everybody to answer in the comments down below. I'm really curious where people see Hideo fitting, especially after the little debate that me and Ashton had here. All right, guys, this has been our NXT review. Again, the content is still coming your way. We got live reactions for episode 2 of the Cruiserweight Classic upcoming. And, of course, Friday, it's going to be G1 Climax Day 2, the B block, and either Battleground preview and predictions, or that'll definitely be coming Saturday, which will be another G1 Climax Day. We'll be going back to the A block. Then Sunday, it's going to be Battleground live reactions and a review, but that will also be preceded by G1 Climax. That'll be, I believe, Day 4 at this point. It's just rolling on, people. It doesn't stop. So, if you're on the TWitWoW train, we hope you're enjoying your ride. And until then, tune in and peace out.